Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 6. We're excited to present to you today on digital maturity and transformation. My name is Sammy Faust. I'm a senior at RMU in the integrated program with a going for the certificate in data analytics. I currently work for an architectural lighting company called WeF, and I am a supply chain specialist.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Panet. I am in the integrated program as well. I was a hospitality major and I'm getting my certificate in project management for the MBA program. I'm currently employed by Barnes & Noble, so that's the bookstore at RMU. And then when I graduate in December, I will be moving to Orlando and I'm going to be working in the Disney College program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Capuzzi. I'm in my final semester in the MBA program at Robert Morris. I will be graduating in December with my MBA as well as a project management certification. And I am currently employed with Boehringer Ingelheim Pharmaceutics as an Access and Reimbursement Associate Director for Specialty Drug.
So to start us off, we want to talk a little bit more about Group M and do a company overview. Group M is a media investment arm of WPP, a very large media company in the world. In 2001, Group M was established in India, and since then really endured a lot of strong growth, especially in the media industry. By 2012, it's the largest media agency network with over $90.8 billion in their billings. And they are 35% higher than all of their other competitors as well. In 2013, we see a really heavy increase in digital advertising and services, sparking the demand for this firm to switch to more digital strategies, which we are going to talk about. And following 2013, India is expected to be the second largest advertising presence in Asia as well. So there's definitely a needed demand to create a new vision to sustain long-term growth. Next slide, please.
All right, I'm going to discuss Group M's digital maturity and then some examples that go along with that. So first, we have their organizational-wide transformation. They want the company to prepare for the future changes of media investment. So this aligns with the article that we're actually reading in class. It's called Achieving Digital Maturity. And the authors, right at the beginning of the article, list 5 examples of things that digitally mature companies do. And the organizational change is an example of implementing the systemic changes in how workforces are organized and developed. Secondly, we have the new traction areas, where Group M opens these areas for emerging media and content. An example of that would be like new social media platforms, social media trends, things like that. We saw in the case how India's population sort of switched over the at-home computer and they went straight to like smartphones, and that's kind of how they receive their advertising. So that also aligns with the first approach in the article, with workplace innovation being spurred. Thirdly, the company is lining up with their clients' interests in a mix of traditional and digital media. So that's online and offline media. Examples of offline media would be getting your news through television, radio, or print sources. Next is Company M using their market leading position to their advantage, where they can invest in resources that assist with the adoption of the new digital techniques and spending. Fifth is the company modifying their corporate strategy constantly or in real time. As our digital age shows, the rules are constantly changing. So things can change, such as colleges and universities switching their programs to completely online when a pandemic hits. Or another example would be a social media site such as Facebook shutting down overnight, like yesterday. So finally, the company decided to put the digital at the heart of everything that they do. And that is done by creating a digital culture to match their clients, and they're able to provide digital solutions to their customers. All right, I'm going to pass it over to.
Okay, so what we're going to look at next are the key priorities for Srinivas. So what we have here is an overview of the 4 different gaps that we saw. I'm going to take 2 of them. Sammy's going to take 2 of them. So next slide, please. We're going to start out with the product gap. So with product gap, the challenge here was around what medium to use. Was it the right one? Was it the best one for India? Was it the best one for the world? Many of the groups, there was a heavy emphasis on traditional media such as TV, radio, print, like newspapers. And although this really made sense, you would think that this would make sense, it really didn't make sense, as indicated in Exhibit 4 in this cartoon on the final page of our reading. And the reason why it didn't make sense were 900 million were mobile users, subscribers in 2012. You had 55% of internet users likely to be mobile only in 2015. And you had a young, urban, tech-savvy demographic in which 65% of the population was under the age of 35 years old. So that said, the median age was around 25 years old. Many of these folks are not reading newspapers. So that's why it really wasn't, getting back to the product gap, they weren't really presenting the correct media at the time. So this was evident in a lot of the talks as well, in that 70 to 80% of the conversations were about digital media. So, that was a big part of it, was they weren't really getting what they should have been getting. Another aspect of the product gap was it seemed they were putting a lot of their eggs, or all their eggs, in one ad basket. There was difficulty in understanding the mediums and the platforms. And then there was also difficulty in understanding what goes on in the ad business as far as pricing and transparency in such. So such of those examples in the misunderstandings are around the pricing from an ad that is presented on television versus one that's presented on internet. You would think that they cost the same to the client. However, the internet and the media is considerably cheaper. So there was always a misunderstanding with the groups as far as how much it would cost. They would think that it would be half as much to produce as well, but it really wasn't. Next slide, please. So this is from the reading as well. This exhibits that imbalance as far as utilizing the traditional methods. You'll see that TV, they use 42%, and this is all in 2012. The internet was very much so a thing in 2012. So 42% TV ads, 39% in the newspapers, and 6% digital. Next slide, please. So the next gap is around profile gap. So with profile gap, the issue here was what was changing. Well, first, let's talk about what the initiative was. The initiative with profile gap was that Srinivas, they needed to create a best-in-class system in consult or a consultative service for their book of business. And with such, they created the Madhouse India consultative group. And what this was made up was a group of subject matter experts in the whole ad business. What they ended up doing was they had in their book of business many groups in luxury business, hotels, automotives that were best in class. So the premise of this was to provide them a best-in-class service for their profile or their book of business, and giving them what they deserve as far as their services. Next slide, please. So, in doing the assignment, I actually had the opportunity to talk to a coworker of mine, which we had a nice conversation regarding the estimated media market spends. So, we talked about what happened in 2012. Okay, what happens in 2020 to 2024, excluding COVID to an extent. Although this source is from 2020, so it is cognizant of it. And you'll see in the next two slides too, we also have some attention to the COVID as a little something extra. But what you'll see in this chart right here is on the far left, you'll see that the internet, the way that this is set up is there's a gap in spending that continues to widen between the online advertising and TV advertising. The updated estimates are from 2019's online advertising spend, and it puts it at 125.2 billion, some 54.8 billion higher than the spend on television, which was at 70.4 billion. So again, the trend is the same that it was in 2012. Next slide, please. So what's next with COVID? In the spirit of this assignment, it was kind of advice to Srinivas and what to do. So we as a group, we thought, what are the most important themes? And two of them are agility in action. And that's demonstrated in the quote that a lot of the clients are so used to benchmarking year over year. You have to recalibrate, understand, and essentially pivot is what this is saying. And that's agility in action. I think we can all agree that this past year and a half has been a great opportunity where businesses really had to pivot. The other theme that we noticed was that you have to embrace a change mindset. So that was demonstrated in this quote with the dynamics of our agency, client relationships, and the expectations are changing. Remember, we talked about the folks that are demanding a higher value-based system for their product. So, that's a big part of it. Media agencies have to transform themselves to stay relevant, very important to the clients, and play an active role that has a direct impact on the client businesses. So that concludes those first two gaps. I'll turn it over to Sammy.
Thanks, Steve. So the next gap that Group M tends to face is the people gap. We see in the media industry that there is a very low retention rate of their employees as young people are leaving their careers after 2 to 3 years. So where are they going and what's missing? Well, they're not leaving to go to other media agencies. They, according to our case, are going to startups and e-commerce companies, which have similar company cultures, very quickly paced, forward thinking, futuristic, and really give the employees a sense of value that they're doing something impactful. So we think that this is a large reason on why they're leaving after 2 to 3 years at Group M is they're not feeling that same level of commitment. The candidate's attitude is evolving. You see more entrepreneurial and there's a more assertive attitude in the interviews coming from these candidates. So tailoring the job and tailoring the company to a more assertive candidate will attract more talent as well. The other reason why Srinivas doesn't think they are keeping is because they don't have a cohesive team. Their digital specialists are working independently, and without that cohesive group culture, they're going to leave. So our initiative is to incorporate that startup culture that we see in e-commerce and startup companies, as well as creating teams and providing a value for the employees to want to stay more than 2 or 3 years. Next slide, please. The last gap that we want to provide an initiative for is creating long-term and sustaining partners. We see Group M having a lack of depth and breadth in their creative strategies, and this is causing them to be unconfident in recommending new solutions to their clients. If they're not confident in their digital strategies, which is where the world is going, and according to Steve, they have the least priority on digital. If they're not confident in recommending those types of solutions, they're not going to be successful in the future. So it'll be crucial for them to build long-term partners and integrating the business into their partners as well. If it's not a two-way win-win scenario, the partner will likely not last very long. So making sure that they're integrated as much as possible will encourage long-term growth. How we do it in supply chain when we create long-term partners is starting really broad and then narrowing it down from there, deciding a criteria on what's important for the company and what will fill the needs best moving forward. So that's a way for Group M and Tervinios to create the best long-term partnerships moving forward. Next slide, please. And as we wrap up this presentation, we'd like to thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week. Here are our references if you'd like to look back on them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.